In this challenge, you're going to be using selection tools as well as some additional ones in order to create something similar to this. I'm going to go ahead and close this now, and I'm not going to save it. You are going to need to go to Finder, and in Finder, if you go to Applications, you should see Adobe Photoshop CS6. Don't drag this folder down here. Instead, double click on it. Here is the program that you want to drag down to your dock to open or to keep it there because you're going to use it often. Mine is already there. So go ahead and drag it there and then open Photoshop. All right, now we use, obviously you're going to be following this video, so you are going to need to use Photoshop, and you're going to have access to the video. So you're going to need to resize both Photoshop as well as the website where the video is and find a little area where how it works for you. Okay? Now, once you have it side by side, you're going to be able to get started. I'm going to put mine back in full screen because I want you to be able to see it, everything there. So the first thing I want you to do, you'll notice that up here at the top we have our menu bar. And remember that no matter where your program is on the screen, you always have the menu bar up here. And if Photoshop is the program that you currently have activated, then Photoshop is going to be the menu that's here. However, if you click in Chrome, now look and see what's active. So you really need to be aware of that because it's going to matter what tools you find. So underneath the File menu, you'll see New, Open, and then some other things. Go ahead and click on New. We're going to create a new file. Now, this new file is going to have a name, and we always have a specific way to name files in this class. You start off with your period number. So if you're in first period, you put a 1. If you're in third period, you put a 3, etc., etc. Then you're going to use the underscore. And the underscore, you have to hold down Shift, and then it's the hyphen or dash up next to the 0. Then you put your last name, because I need to know what period you're in, and I need to know who you are to give you credit. Then you're going to do an underscore again, and you have to put the name of the assignment. And obviously I need to know the assignment, so do you, so that you know what that file is. So this one is going to be Intro Selection Tools. Okay, and I do put underscores in between there, and the reason I do is because when you put things on a website, websites don't like spaces, so I use an underscore where a space should be. Now, in this new file dialog box, here, this is the name obviously, we do have some preset sizes, and we can set the size itself by using inches, pixels, or anything else. We're going to leave it at inches, and we're going to make the width of it 11 and the height of it 8.5. The resolution will be 300 pixels per inch. We're going to leave the color mode at RGB. We have different color modes. RGB is what you use for computer-based graphics. CMYK is for print. Okay, and we typically don't use the other ones, but those are your options. We'll leave this at 8-bit, and we're going to put our background contents at white. Okay, if you have that advanced there, you can just leave it at default as well. Click OK, and now you have the canvas that we're going to work on. Now, before we actually start drawing, I need to show you a few very important things. Here on the left-hand side, you'll see my toolbar. And the toolbar can be detached and moved. It can be made into 2 columns or 1 column. And in order to move it around, you just have to grab a hold of these little dots up at the top. And you see how that's turned blue on the side now? That means it's ready to dock. Okay? So if yours was not there, you might need to find it somewhere else and then move it there. Now, depending on what tool you have selected, notice that these options or these controls change. Okay? So whenever you have a new tool, you have different options and controls that go with it. In addition to your toolbar and your option controls, we also have panels. And some of the important panels that you may have is the history panel. This is one way that we are able to go back and undo our mistakes. We also have the layers panel, which is really the heart of Photoshop and how it works. If at any point you don't have a panel showing that you need, all of them are here under the window menu. You have the ability to set up your workspace. You can reset something as in the Essentials workspace, or you can open things up as you need them. Now the panels are able to dock and move around just like we did with the toolbar. So you see the color panel right here. I can move that over here if I needed to use that in a different way. Or maybe I wanted, instead of color and swatches to be side by side like this, maybe I want them to be one on top of each other. You notice that there's also out here to the side history. When I reset it, it moved out here. So I can move history and dock that. And properties I probably don't need, so I can close that by hitting the little X on it. Now, in addition to moving panels around and docking them, you also can double click on the tab, like the layer name, or sorry, the panel name, and it will expand and collapse that panel. If you look up here at the top, you'll see this little double arrows. Notice now that our toolbar, or sorry, our panel bar has been collapsed to a single column of icons. Now, you probably don't recognize what these icons mean. I do because I've been using Photoshop for many. Okay, so you're going to go here to File and Save As. Now, you are going to probably need to click on this little arrow next to the Save As line. This Save As is where you always have your the title of your document. Okay, this will expand this window so that we can see all of the different shortcuts over here on the left. Now, even though you have access to your desktop, you don't save to your desktop because it's not secure there, and it doesn't follow you from computer to computer. What you need to do is over here on the left, you'll see a little area that says Shared. Cougar 11 is where Schools is. Now, if you click on this little button, that actually will close or shut down your connection to that drive. So don't do that. You need to click on the words that say Cougar 11. And now you see Schools show up here. If you double click, you get a list of all the schools where you will type in SF on your keyboard, and it takes you straight to the SFM folder, which is Spring Forest Middle School. Double click on that. And now I don't actually have a folder in here, which is why I can see everybody else's. However, once you open SFM, your folder should appear. I am going to borrow somebody else's folder to save this in. Okay, so I'm going into this folder, and notice down here at the bottom you see where it says New Folder. Go ahead and make one called Photoshop and hit Create. Okay, Now that's put it right there so that we are saving in that folder. Okay, so we have the name, we have the correct folder where it's saving, and now look down here under Format. I'm hoping that by default yours says Photoshop, but if it doesn't, then you need to change it to Photoshop. Okay? Photoshop is the file that allows you to save everything to where you can go back in later and edit it. And then go ahead and hit Save. If you were to check your folder in Schools, it should be there.